Hello, everybody. How are you? All right, we're still alert and awake after an afternoon full of listening to people. So I'll make you listen for a little bit longer. Hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun along the way. For those of you who don't know me, which I think is everybody, though I talked to a couple of you earlier, my name is Tom Cheney, and I'm the Executive Director of Advance Vermont. And the work that we do is around making sure that Vermonters are able to see and pursue a career and education pathway that helps them meet their goals. And the way we do this is through information. So a big part of our work is this thing called MyFutureVT, which is what we'll be talking about today. Just a couple housekeeping items. We're really going to get into a demo of this tool and how you can use it for your own exploration and planning. And it's a device-friendly presentation, so I'm not going to be offended if you are down at your phones, especially if you are looking at the website and kind of exploring along the way. Totally normal. I think it's a great way for you to get a gauge of this tool and how it might be useful for you. And then, the folks online, welcome. We encourage you to participate as well, so please use the chat. We've got some folks monitoring the chat. We're happy to answer your questions and address the things that you need to be addressed as well. Of course, as with all the rest of the presentations, it's recorded. It'll be up online for you to watch me again. I'm sure you'll want to watch this thing twice, but it also we'll have the presentation in PDF form for you too. So, are you feeling overwhelmed? One of the things that is totally normal as you're going through an exploration and planning what those next steps are is to feel a little overwhelmed. You've got some big choices ahead of you for sure, but it doesn't have to be a drag. And what we try to do at Advance Vermont is to help you explore and plan for your future in an informative and an inspiring way. So today what we'll do is talk about two tools. We're going to help take that pressure off, hopefully, so that you're not looking like this at the end of using our tools, and have some hope and some inspiration and a little bit of direction for your next steps. So our workshop goals today, first, we're going to just kind of discuss the key factors to future planning. What are those things you need to be thinking about? We're going to learn about MyFutureVT and this other tool called the Vermont Employment Pathfinder and how those tools might work for you in your search. And finally, we just hope that you'll walk away with some next steps for your planning. So where are you anyway with your planning? So just want to, think about this. Maybe we'll do some raised hands. Are you just beginning? You've got a sense of the career you're interested in. You have some options for your education plans, or I've got it all figured out. So could we just do a quick show of hands, because this will be helpful for me as I can tailor the presentation a little bit to you. Are you just beginning? Anybody? Just getting started. Yeah, you or the person that you're kind of representing. Totally fair. No judgment. Okay. I've got a sense of the career that I might want to do. Yeah, maybe. Okay. Yep. How about education? I know what I want to do for my education. Okay. Nobody put their hand up, just so you know. And then I've got it all figured out. Okay, no one's got it all figured out. You're in the right place, because I'd say grab a sticker and we'll see you later. There might still be a cookie out there. There's not? Okay, sorry. I took two. Sorry, guys. I got hungry while you were in your presentations. I'm just trying to find my... Okay, not going to work. So, great. That was really helpful for me. So, something that's really important, I think, is to remember that as you plan your next steps, no matter where you are in your exploration, it's really important to keep in mind there's no right way. So no matter what you hear from folks, there's not a right path for one person or another, certainly not for you. You can choose your path. A family member, a friend, teacher, a mentor, see, they may tell you who they think you should be or what you should do after high school. And, you should probably listen because they probably know you pretty well, but it's not the gospel. Only you can decide what those next steps are. They could totally be onto something, and they could be wildly off. the bottom line is that in order for you to be successful, you have to buy into the path that you choose, and you have to buy into your future, and you have to take charge, take some responsibility, do that research, do that planning, ask questions of yourself, but also of others, and put yourself out there. But you get to define your own definition of success, and nobody else gets to do that. Which I hopefully feels empowering. I wish somebody had told me that when I was younger, that you get to just decide, and it's your choice. And there's a lot of information out there to help you. So, while there may be no right way, one thing that is important is education. You got to have some level of education and training after high school to be successful. We know there's examples of folks who continue right on to things, and that's perfectly reasonable. But your best shot is to make sure that you have some kind of education. And it looks different. Even before you leave high school, you can actually earn some of these pieces of paper, a certificate or certification. And when I say credential, by the way, for the purposes of this presentation, it's inclusive of all these different pieces of paper and these badges, right? So it could be an apprenticeship, a certificate, a certification, a degree. These are all really meaningful things for you to earn, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. The other thing is that you can find one that meets your needs, whether it's location, it's duration, it's online or in person, it's short, it's long, it's liberal arts, it's specific. And they can be earned at tech centers, colleges, universities, training centers, through employers, or through online options. We're going to dig into these a little bit. So it's also not linear. So I advanced on my computer, but not here. So it's not linear. We use this not to overwhelm you, but to show you that there are a lot of different options to pursue that education, and that it's okay to have a zigzaggy line, and it's okay to have multiple types, which is actually what we'll talk about in the next slide. A certificate. It's a great way to show employers you have a strong foundation in a specific career or industry. It's shorter, often more affordable. And it often can gain you entry into a degree program. You kind of wet your whistle, and then you can go into a degree program after if you're interested. In apprenticeship, you actually get paid to learn. If someone had told me that you could get paid to learn when I was in high school, I would not be here right now. I would actually be a really successful electrician, probably at a second home somewhere now, because electricians can do really well. But I'm glad to see you, glad to be here with you. An associate degree, so apprenticeship is where you're earning to learn, and earning and learning, I should say. You're employed that entire time and progressively learning more and more and more. And by the end, this employer who you've been working for hires you, and you've got a job, and a good paying job with no debt and in the field that you're interested in. I mean, that sounds pretty magical. Associate degree, shorter than a bachelor's degree, very focused. 2 years, a little less expensive, obviously, than a bachelor's degree because it's half the time. More focused on what you're looking to do. A bachelor's degree is going to be 4 years. It's broader. It's going to be, you'll learn more liberal artsy things, and have a little bit more of a not well-rounded education, but a more rounded education. Let's put it that way. But you can also start this in high school, so don't forget that. You can stack them. So the other thing is that it's a continuous process over time. It's not unlikely that you are going to get your first credential after high school and then get another one and then another one. That's the world that we live in these days. And you can do it in a couple different ways. Horizontal, which might mean you have a certification and a badge in a particular industry. Vertical might mean that you're starting with one and going to a different level that kind of build upon each other, or it might be a little bit of both. But it's important to know that, and I think this takes some of the pressure off. You don't have to get that bachelor's degree right away. You might want to start with a certificate. Or you might get a bachelor's degree and then realize, actually I need a certificate in a particular industry or a particular skill. And so this is an example. Finley is doing a little bit of both, kind of that vertical and horizontal with the certifications and degrees that they have. Any questions on that before I get into MyFutureVT. I thought it would be valuable to just give you a quick overview of how we talk about education credentials and how we talk about planning and how it's built into the website that we've created, or the tool that we've created. So MyFutureVT is a one-stop shop for career and education exploration and planning. We created this because we were asking, where is the information? Where do people go to get information to figure out what their next step is, whether they're in high school or middle school or an adult? And the answer was, there was no place. So we said, well, I guess we'll build it. And what we hope is that folks will come in different ways, right? So some people come once, some people use it a lot. Use it whatever way makes sense to you. We're going to talk and I'm going to showcase the different ways to use it, but the shorthand here is that you can explore careers, and that means take a career interest profile, figure out what interests you have. You can then look at the top 500 careers in the state and figure out what might work for you. You might figure out how to test drive a career through a job shadow or an internship. You can find education and training. So we know that if you're going to continue on in a career, you're going to need education and training. We covered that earlier. This will help you figure out, okay, what is the difference between an apprenticeship or a certificate? Where can I, become an apprentice? Where can I get that certificate or that degree? And then how can I pay for it? And this is a VSAC event, so I will tell you, we push you over to VSAC as fast as we can. But we'll start with, what's a grant and what's a scholarship and what's a loan? What are those differences? And how can you access them? And then we know that a website and a tech tool like this can only go so far. You need real-life human beings in your help, to help you. The folks in this room sitting next to you, for sure. But also, you may need others. You may need VSAC. You may need the Department of Labor. There may be another organization. Outright Vermont does some great work. And we want to connect you with those organizations as well. So this is what the homepage looks like. So what we're going to kind of do now is I'm going to walk you through the site a little bit so you get a flavor for it. I'll go relatively quickly because it can be dry, but give you a sense of how you might use this site to explore your career and your education options. So this is a homepage. What's really cool about this new homepage is that you can actually click in through careers, education, helping others, getting started, etc. And it helps you choose your adventure. So we will point you based on the answers that you put here, and then there's another page. Put the information that seems most relevant to your needs right in front of you. And then something that's really important is this blog. So we have a lot of information on the site that I call it evergreen information. It's information that stays there. It doesn't change. We are always adding more relevant information on this blog where we can actually talk to you about specific programs and more in depth on different industries or different topics. So we have a career guide video. We talk about the free ways that you can actually get free tuition as a Vermonter. This one is actually for some really great adult programs, so in CTE centers. So once you graduate from your high school, you can actually go back to your CTE center and earn credentials as an adult. And then this new platform that we'll talk about called the Vermont Employment Pathfinder. So here we go. If you're going to explore careers, the first thing you want to do is discover your interests. We've got a career interest profiler here and a personality profile. What you do is go in here, you take it 10 minutes, kind of fun, ask you fun questions about yourself, and what it does, it spits out, here's your interests. And we'll come back to that. Information on this section of the site around exploring a career, test driving a career, see if a job fits. One of those things we like to highlight is service learning, and how service learning is a great opportunity to test drive a job, to maybe earn some money, earn some credentials while you are still in high school. So that's a great way to get going. Jessica, do you want to talk about Job Shadow?
Yes. So my job at VSAC is to help students after they've graduated from high school into the transition with whatever their plans are. And I would say I go to this site almost every time I meet with a student at some point in that first year after high school, because they have a section on job shadow. But even before a job shadow is something called an informational interview. Does anyone in this room, have you heard that term before? Yes. I've never met a college or high school student who has heard that term before. And so it's a new concept, but it's a way they really break it down on this site. I don't know if you're going to show it in the presentation, but I encourage you to check it out because it really breaks down what is it to just ask someone who you know or maybe you don't know different questions to help learn how they found their way to their path. So if it's somebody who's doing a job that you're like, oh, I am interested in what that person does, you can ask them for something called an informational interview. And on this site, it has a list of questions that you can just go in prepared. And I would say that is one of the easiest, most accessible steps to just learning more about what you might want from your path and build relationships with people. And it's so nicely broken down on this website.
And it can be, thanks, Jessica, it can be overwhelming to think, okay, there's this employer in my town. They do some really cool stuff, but I don't know them, and I'm afraid to ask them if I can go hang out with them for a little while, or I'm afraid to ask them for a telephone call or a coffee. And what we try to do on the site is to give you the right language and the right guidance for how you might approach that conversation. One thing that I tell folks is that I don't know, I'm looking around at everybody. Do you like to talk about yourself? Like, could you talk for 10 minutes about yourself? I think you probably could. And you think it was 10 minutes, but it was a half hour. And so people love talking about the work that they do, and they love showcasing it with young people and old people and anybody who will listen. So that's a really great point, Jessica. And I think a great way to start figuring out what might work for you is to ask somebody who's doing it. And they'll be honest, too. It's kind of boring, this time of year, or this thing's kind of hard. I had to kind of learn how to make it valuable to me. Or they might say, you know what, this doesn't seem like it's the right thing for what you're interested in. You can have some really foundational conversations that will save you a lot of time if you do it now. So after you kind of start to figure out what your interests are, you want to explore careers that match your interests. So we have a career database. This got 550 plus careers in Vermont. This is Vermont data. These are real jobs in Vermont. And what you go to this part of the site and you can kind of scroll through, you can filter, and I'll actually show you that in the next slide. Filter by your interests. So if you did that interest profiler, it'll spit out what your interests are, and you can actually narrow down from 500 to 30 or to 70, depending, careers, and just scroll through them and figure out what might be interesting to you. And then click through them in detail and learn more. So I'll go back one slide. You would actually push learn more about the job and start to learn about what an accountant or an actuary does. And it'll show you, what's a description of what the job is. It'll show you how much it pays, how many openings, just like it does here. And then it'll show you what education and training options are available for you, which is pretty important. And actually, I just kind of jumped the gun on that because that's number 3, is to dig in to a career. So for this one, you're getting carpenters. Here's what carpenters do. That's a ton of openings, by the way. And then what are the skills that you need to get the job done? You scroll down, and you'll see there's a lot of education and training options for this. And the cool thing is they're not all college. In fact, none of the ones that are shown up here, I could have pushed show more, are college programs. So these are going to be shorter, quicker, very in-depth. One thing to note as you go through the site, this is a little bit of a detail, is that the minimum level of education required, that's not a science. This is general. So you may find that there is a bachelor's degree in here, or you may find that something that requires a bachelor's degree, you'll see that actually you can access it through an apprenticeship or a certificate program. It's not a perfect science, but it gives you a flavor for what kind of level education you might need to access that career. So pathways to climate careers, one thing we're trying to do more on the site is around industries. So what are specific industries that you can get into? One thing that we've done right now is around if you want to fight climate change, we do have a resource there as well. Okay, any questions for how you might explore a career? Not just about how you use the site, but just generally. Okay, all right. So what we'll do now is just talk a little bit about how you explore education and training using the site. So first of all, you really probably do have to do that first step. What are the careers that are interesting to you? And do some of that work. But what education and training do you have to have for that? And what education and training program best fits into your life? So do you need something that's short? Do you need something that's part-time? Those are things to question and consider. And then think about what those pathways are. So we already talked about this a little bit, you know, the different options that we have. Scroll down on that particular page and you will see apples to apples, kind of what is a career in technical education. Oh, sorry, this one's actually something a little different. This is how you can get started in high school. Has anyone done a flexible pathway? Anyone enrolled in CTE? Yeah. Anyone done dual enrollment? Fast forward? Early college? Okay. So these are great ways for you to gain credentials in high school for free. And if you do early college, if you're the class of 2026 or before, you can actually go to CCV for free and have your associate degree 1 year after graduating from high school, which is pretty cool. And hopefully the state will pick that up for future classes. But what you also do is explore what's a certificate versus a registered apprenticeship versus an associate degree, et cetera. And this is handy if you really are trying to figure out what credential type might be for you. We say, you know, it's one paragraph about each with the same kind of information so you can easily compare and figure out what's going to work for me. Oops. So, exploring programs. So now you have a sense of what kind of credential you want to earn. What are the programs that you might want to pursue? We have this database of, it's now 649 education and training programs. This is from most colleges and universities, most CTE centers, and a lot of other education providers across the state. It's not all of them. We're working on that, but it's most. And you could scroll through here, you can filter, you can search a program that might fit your needs. What's really helpful about this, and this is unique, there's no other place to find this information in the state, and no one has a spreadsheet even that has this information. We wish others did, but this is unique stuff that we created because it doesn't make sense for you to have to go to the UVM website and learn the UVM website and then go to the Champlain website and you learn the Champlain website, then go to your local CTE center and learn their website. So we do that for you. And you can compare these programs apples to apples. And so this is how you can filter through by credential type, who it's offered by, where it's offered, how long this thing might take, and narrow down your options. Sticking with a construction trend here and theme, this is a program offered at the Randolph Tech Center, and this is information that we get from the tech center, we get it from the provider. It's all information that they have. It's legitimate, it's real, and tells you virtually, hopefully, almost everything you need to know about the program. And then you can click onto their website for more information, so you don't have to find that website on your own. And you scroll down on the page, and it tells you how much it costs. In this case, it's free because it's a CTE program. But others, you know, it'll cost more. But we tell you about the aid that might be available. You can compare programs. So up to 4 programs. If you wanted to get a flavor of what's the difference between a certificate and a bachelor's degree program, you can do that. If you just were interested in these 4 programs, you can take a look at that. And you'd scroll right down and be able to look at all the different information. So, fourth, you don't want to get overwhelmed by cost. That could be something that can really just be devastating, and talk about that overwhelming, head explode from the first slide. There's never been a better time to go to education after high school. There's never been more money on the table for folks, really across the spectrum. So what we do is try to give you a little bit of a sense of what your options are, what's a grant, what's a scholarship, what's a loan, and then push you over to VSAC, like I think I said earlier, as fast as we can, because they're the real pros. But one place that I think actually is unique for us in the financial aid space is that we try to, in one page, showcase all of your financial aid options that are Vermont options. So I don't know of another page that does this in the state. And so everything from all of VSAC's wonderful programs to several other programs that you can access for financial aid. And we try to do it very short, very quick, and then link you over to the provider. There's a lot of aid on the table. Now, we also have a section for resources just for high school students. So there's a page for you there. And because we like databases, apparently, you can also go and search the different service providers who can help you with additional information you may need, or additional support that may be important for you as you're considering your pathway or as you're pursuing your pathway. This is a portion of the site that's getting redone right now, and pretty soon, right now, there's actually only 40 things we have on. We're updating them, and there's going to be 140 within the next month or two, and this will have a little bit of a new look, and hopefully be that much more helpful. Again, you can search by and filter. So, I am a high school student, or I'm an English language learner, and get resources that work best for you. So when I say resources, I mean a Vermont Department of Labor counselor, or a VSAC counselor, or, Hireability Vermont, other folks who can help you along the way. Trailblazers is an example of this for Vermont Works for Women, a really wonderful program. And this is what we try to do, is give you a little sense of what it is and link you over to their website quickly. So as we round to the finish here, I want to show you this other tool. It's called the Vermont Employment Pathfinder, and you can get to it through MyFutureVT. This is a tool that if you're looking for a more personalized journey, you can use this. It's a relatively new tool. It's still being built out, but I think is a great place to start if you're saying, hey, MyFutureVT is great, but I want something that's really personalized for me. And what this does is you can actually get into this program, and it'll help you build your resume, identify your skills, find education opportunities, find job opportunities, and you have a profile you can go back to, you can tinker with it. And this is a great tool from the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, and it leverages AI to help you explore your path. So like I said, it's really skill-based. So you put in there, what are some of your skills? It could be babysitting. It could be caretaking a sibling. It could be having a job. Once it knows what your skills are, it will start to showcase education opportunities for you and career opportunities for you. So it's really this skills-based platform where it actually will allow you to say, here's the jobs I've had, here's the things I've done in life, and even things that are informal, not paid for jobs. But I know how to do first aid. I have a CPR thing, certification. And then it'll say, okay, how are, what are these jobs that work for you? So this is actually showcasing you how you go through that. I did this job, and so I was able to do, I did this thing or that thing. I did it a lot, I did a little. And then once it has a baseline level of information, it starts to spit out what might work for you, which is a pretty cool thing. And you can go back to this and tinker with it, and it creates resumes. So it'll actually build a resume for you, which is really cool because those are hard, and you can go in and tinker with it but it does give you a draft resume that's typically pretty good. One other thing is that it can also link you to actual employers in Vermont and real jobs, which is a cool thing. So those are the two tools. Now, just because I've been talking for a while, maybe you turn to the person next to you, or just take a minute to think about this and process the information. But what stood out to you in these two tools, what's the next step that you'll take? So how did you find it useful? Is there anything useful out of these tools? How might you use it? Just think about maybe starting to chart your next step. And I'll just give you a minute just to talk to yourselves and just to think a little bit. How are we doing? Anyone want to share? I mean, I feel like this isn't necessarily a sharing kind of thing, but if you'd like to, I'd love to hear. Yeah, or a question. Oh, sorry. Microphone for the.
Spacing out here.
That's right. So when we talk about this site, we went to another discussion, and they featured VSAC, or the Zero Net Interest Profile online. Does this site utilize that same one, or is it something different?
Yeah, which one was that? Can I see the? Oh, yeah. So there are a lot of different types of profilers, and my experience has been that they're all pretty similar. This one uses one from, I think it's My Next Move, so it's a federal resource. But there's a lot of different ones, and I think that the VSAC folks in the room would also, probably have a couple. They're all good. The one we use is tailored to, we actually build right into our career database. So that's the one, if you were to go and collect, filter by interests, you'd want to use that tool just because everyone calls the things a little different. But yeah, they're all pretty similar at the end of the day. And, and we think about, okay, what are the right ones that we want to have? This is the one we have for now. Yeah. Right here. She's going to bring a mic to you, so.
Oh, okay,
yep.
great.
So they can hear you online.
So what's interesting is that as I'm watching this, I'm actually, we're here for our 17-year-old, but we have a rising ninth grader who will be a ninth grader, and I'm thinking this would actually be great for him. And I saw some things in there where there are opportunities for folks as young as 14 years old. So I'd like to hear a little bit more, like what could those opportunities be, or how would a 14 or 15-year-old interact with this app?
Yeah, I mean, the way that I think a middle schooler would interact with this is really on the exploration side. So it would be spending some time with the careers, kind of taking that interest profiler test, then figuring out, okay, what are some of these careers I might be interested in? I think that's where they're going to spend a lot of their time. It may also be kind of showcasing for them the different types of education options and really hammering home the point that, number one, you need some sort of piece of paper after high school. It doesn't have to be college. There's a lot of different great options, and let's explore them a little bit. So that's at that stage probably where we would start. You might, especially for someone who's outgoing and is interested in maybe learning a little bit more and taking a next step, it may be that you're doing an informational interview or a job shadow. I do think that there's going to be employers who would be fine to have a 14 or 15-year-old come in and spend a little bit of time with them. And then starting to think about, okay, as I get into 9th and 10th grade, maybe there's some internship opportunities for me. And this site can help you with that. But I think that's where I would start. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Yes, in the back. She's coming. She's running. Did you practice for this? She's doing sprints down in.
You don't need to run. It's all good. First of all, my initial reaction to this as someone that actually works in software development is just like, thank you for creating a hub, because I totally get that you're setting this up as a jumping off point, right? You've collated all this data for all of us and then allow us to jump off to the other locations to refine whatever it is we need to know. So thank you for that, because this is amazing. And similarly, like, I'm actually here for my 9th grader, and I have the exact same reaction that you did in that perspective, but I'm also seeing it for other adults that I know that are sort of like, I'm looking for something else. I want to do something more. I'm sort of stuck where I am. So the potential here, I mean, I get that we're here from a college and careers perspective, but this is pretty powerful. I'm excited to see where it goes long term.
Well, thanks. Awesome. And so we've been around for about 3 years. And, and we're a little teeny tiny nonprofit. And so we're working every day to get folks to learn about it and use it. But we have had some great experiences with adults too, who said, yeah, I'm in the middle of something. And, I was doing some Googling and I came across this thing, and I'm at this, crossroads in my life, and it really did help me figure out what my next step might be. So those kind of comments, kind of keep us doing what we're doing. Yeah, Jessica's got something from online.
I think it's on. No, it's from me.
Okay.
I think the other great page is the Find a Job. So they've just pulled together a page that has a ton of great job boards, job listings, jobs with mission-driven organizations, food systems, technology jobs. So I think that's another resource I share with young people a lot because it's just all in one place and it's so many different options.
Yeah, I should really run my slideshow by you first, because that's, I think, a great thing to mention, is that sometimes you'll get a student who will say, okay, fine, like, I can see that there are careers, and I see that it tells me that there's 1,000, openings, but I'm not sure I believe that. So we do have job boards that we link to, and there's some that are very broad job boards, and then there's some job boards that are, like Common Good Vermont is a nonprofit organization that has nonprofit jobs. We have one for technology jobs. There's a few very specific job boards, and so you can see that there are actual jobs that are available right now. Even if you're a youth, maybe there's a job for you, a summer job or a job right out of school that you could do. But also, of course, for adults too, that you see that, okay, if I do this, I will get a job on the other side. So yeah, thanks, Jessica, for mentioning that, because we want to make sure that they know that this is real as well. Yeah. Any other comments or thoughts? Nothing online? Okay. Well, I appreciate the feedback, and I appreciate the good questions, and happy to do some more. But now we've kind of talked about the different pathways, dug into MyFutureVT and the Pathfinder. I kind of want to leave you with this quote, because cheesy quotes aren't really my thing, but I think it summarizes the workshop. You're the only person that can help you, or who gets to determine your goals and dreams. You're also the only one who needs to believe that you can get there. Nobody else needs to. And resources like this that we talked about, and people like the folks in this room, at your schools and your community, with these resources, you can make it happen. So you need a little drive, a little determination, and then these supports and resources, and we know you can conquer your own unique definition of success. So thanks for coming. Hope you do get to use the tool. Always welcome feedback. And yeah, we'll let you out a little early. Why not? Have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks, everybody.